Well, good Sunday evening, good people and Eagle fans. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Hope you had a good 4th of July. Hope you didn't eat too much and you didn't blow your hands off. Me, I've just been working. It's kind of crazy because I just came in from working outside. I literally got a ladder on the side of the house where I'm putting some gutters up and stuff. And my wife is doing some stuff in the kitchen. She said, what do people do when they have a day off? I said, I don't know. I don't have days off. So let me ask my panel because maybe they can enlighten me. Well, hello, good people. And Momo.
Hello.
Troy Daniels back out of the hospital looking rather skinny with a green jersey.
Yeah,
Wait, whoa.
Yes, I have to pay up my debt.
What the hell?
I finally got it. Yes, it's a debt I paid.
Hold on. That's not an Eagles.
It is. I had that bet with our favorite person,
Leo.
I lost.
Even here.
So I have to wear it.
All righty. Okay.
Well, you're looking good, Troy.
Yeah. I've actually dropped down to 445 pounds now.
Damn. Well, I'm trying a new diet. Okay. My diet is I'm eating all the regular shit that I do. But I've been
new diet. You see everything, you eat it.
Well, no. Well, along with this though, I've been drinking tons and tons of water. And I've been working in the heat. And so right now I'm averaging about 11,000 plus steps a day. I had 19,000 steps yesterday.
Wow.
And that's working.
Makes you air toilet if you drink all that water. It's just going to make you.
No, actually, I've just been literally sweating it out. I mean, it's just sweating. It's like crazy. And with that, I've been eating. I had some smothered pork chops last night, and I had a big T-bone steak the night before. So I even had a cinnamon roll yesterday. But I'm losing weight. So I think as long as I continue to bust ass and work hard in the heat and drink nothing but water, I can have me like a crazy meal at the end of the day.
Mark,
I think you'll be fine.
Mark,
Yeah.
no, he's not, because this is the problem with that diet. The older way I know you don't. I hate to bust people bubbles about losing weight because I've done it. And I'm back on this weight kit again. You have to burn calories. The reason you're losing the weight is not. It's because of the sweat and because all the excess water you have in your body.
No. Okay. Momo, shut up. Okay. Let me explain to you, Momo. I had a pile. Listen. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm burning and gaining muscle. I had a pile of rocks. Okay? And I literally, instead of taking the wheelbarrow, I carried 2 of these rocks that are about 12 to 15 pounds apiece at a time and literally walked 3 miles total just moving rocks.
Yes, I agree. You burning calories.
I'm burning calories. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I'm eating good. I'm eating. Okay. Okay. I've done. Listen. I've done keto. I've done shred, and I've done all this stuff. And what I can say is, since the heat wave started, I've been doing the same thing, and I've dropped about 15 pounds.
But don't.
And that's not all water.
Well,
and my blood pressure has gone down. My blood pressure's gone down, and I'm not having to take the blood pressure medication.
I agree. I agree. Mark, I digress. I was wrong.
So that's what I'm saying.
Accept my humble apology. But Mark, I would say you asked earlier about your day off, what people do the day off. Most people, but you and others, and my father and my mother, God bless their soul, didn't take the day off because they didn't think they had to take a day off, and they worked themselves to death. You deserve a day off. Everybody deserves some type of break on their job.
But listen, but bro. But here's the thing. Hold on. Just listen to me. Just listen.
People in my life who gave me birth died because they worked to the day they died.
You know what? And I will tell you, my mom
And I
Hold
refuse
it.
to
Wait a
do
minute.
that.
Wait a minute, Momo. My mom, who is 83 years old, literally, she gardens every day, cans. You know, she literally will get up on a 2-story roof, put the ladder up herself, and put up Christmas decorations. And I'm going to say she's in better shape than you are.
Probably so.
Okay?
But I'm saying that people work themselves because guess how old was I when I retired from my job?
You in
I'm
your
living a
How
good
old?
40s?
life.
How
I was
old?
57 years old when I
Oh,
retired.
57.
Now I
Okay.
refuse to work myself to the day I die.
In the words of Johnny Lawrence, Momo.
Okay. I tell you what, to be able to do the work that I do in the shape that I'm in at 59 and a half, I think I'm actually doing pretty good. Because, see, what happens for me is, like, when I go on a vacation, like go on a cruise or something like that and can't work and do stuff, my body goes to shit and just starts aching.
You know why? Why is aching? Because you aching already. Ain't
No.
got nothing to do with the vacation.
Oh, Lord. Okay, you know what?
And
Momo,
Mark's
Momo,
like
you're
me.
just the opposite of everything, okay?
No, I'm just telling you the truth.
You are like a
Don't be
wife, no matter
surprised.
I'm
what.
inside
Like,
all
look,
day
look,
doing
you
that
can say the
moonshine
sky is
thing.
blue. It's not
Hold
blue.
on.
It's sky blue. Okay? You just have to argue.
Momo got some
Hey,
moonshine
all
going
that
on.
everybody.
30 Sanchez.
All day, Momo, they go crazy.
All right,
Momo, you might have
I'm
lost
gonna
weight,
go
but you're
moonshine
going to
here.
be good, big enough to still booger fly out of George Washington's nose when you sit on a quarter. What? I don't get that one, Dirty, but thank you for breaking. Okay, all right, okay. Forget. I'm sorry. I mentioned that I've been working because I have to say I don't sleep as much, which is good. I'm waking up
Yeah.
before the sunrise. Okay, ready to go. I'm motivated to get things done, and I'm getting things
every
done.
day, Mark.
Okay, my weight is going down, my blood pressure is going down,
Oh, that's excellent.
and
I'm happy
and
for you. All I
and
am
and
saying,
my
Mark,
house is looking good.
Mark, all I'm saying is
Oh
that when
my God!
people
You
working
know,
hard,
Momo.
you can work
See,
hard
you know
all
what,
you want to.
Momo,
But
you are like those same people that when I was doing keto. Okay, when I was doing keto, and just
I
listen.
ain't got nothing to do with nobody else, Mark.
No, you're like people.
I ain't like
No,
nobody
just
else.
listen. God, you're worse than a wife. You
Listen
are
to
like
it.
people when I was doing
Way
keto,
worse.
and I
It's not
was
even
saying
close.
keto's not for everybody, and I was saying I'm losing weight from it, and people who were probably eating a Big Mac at McDonald's at the time said keto's not a good diet for you. That's not good for you, and you're eating shit. So what are you
Yeah,
doing?
no crap.
Okay,
I
what are
would
you
never
doing,
say- I would
Momo?
never say that. I would never say that.
You're just sitting around on your fat ass, and we've seen your fat, crusty ass. Okay, doing nothing, retired.
It's pretty.
You know what?
It's
If I'm going out
pretty to
here
look at
and
too. I know.
beautifying my house and
Bring it
feeling
up.
good about it, and that's what I want to do on my day off, actually, I don't want a day off because I
mean,
get
I
motivated.
get
Because
it.
at
I
the
get
end
it.
of the
I just-
day,
Mom.
here's the thing for my mental health, at the end of the day, I like to look back and say, wow, I accomplished this. Wow, I made that look better.
And I have done the same too, Mark. I accomplished a lot in my
You know, but
life.
see, Momo,
Can I
Momo, see, here's the
interject real
difference,
quick?
Momo. You sit here, I'm going to take a day off. I'm still waiting for you to get your channel going. How long is it taking you to get that shit going? Huh?
I know, but because
Oh, Lord.
because I got a sister. I just went to my wife's aunt died. She was 92. Abruptly, she died, dropped dead in her house. So I had to go to the funeral this weekend. It was
No,
never
I'm sorry, Momo.
Sorry to
Sorry
hear
about
that.
okay. My sister going through what she's going through. My niece and everybody's mourning. I got another cousin so I got a lot of stuff going on.
Sounds like all the perfect conditions for a Momo's rant. Like you really
Mhm.
should be, on there right now, ranting about.
Momo, your
I know.
toothpaste.
I did one other day, a couple of days ago about
Momo,
no
your
training
toothpaste
camp.
is deep fried.
And on the other side, Momo, I wished I was able to work harder again, but with arthritis, it doesn't let me do what I want to do. So I wished I was able to work hard
So,
again. I
so
used to.
my wife think I'm crazy. She think I'm crazy. I'm a lunatic because on my takes on everything in life. And she says you like that.
Okay.
My wife's still working. My wife's 72 years old and she's still working and driving the bus. And I tell her, stop. What you working for? You don't need to work.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Look, okay.
Yes, Curtis, I am.
And maybe that's you. But see, I'm going to give you actually, this is a true story. The first time my back acted up, I was laying light fixtures and throwing up, sideways. and my back went out. I had 3 slip discs. And what I said was, I'm just going to rest. And I, stayed in bed. After about the first week, it got so bad that I literally shit on myself trying to get out of the bed because I couldn't. Right? What I learned is when my back starts to get a twinge on it, work through it. And one time it was getting really bad, and I was building a house for my dad, and we had steps that went down a hill. I mixed 75 bags of cement and poured the steps. Steps are still there. That was 15 years ago. And straightened out my back. So for me, when I work and do exercise, my body feels better and has less pain. I've got a screwed up body. I've got, shit, I can't pronounce it.
Stenosis.
Yeah.
Scoliosis.
Yeah. Or
Scoliosis.
not
I have
I can't pronounce it.
Sciatica.
Sciatica. There you go. But I'll get a pinched nerve and it will go down my leg
Yes.
and stuff. I've had
That's
7
crazy.
knee operations and things. And so if I sit around, they just tighten up. So I have to constantly keep moving. And that's me. That's what works for me. Maybe, Mo, you sitting on your crusty, ashy ass is what works for
I'm
you.
very active in my community. I do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I would say this by playing high school football and a little college football, Mark. I never had surgery a day in my life. Never had surgery, never broke a bone, ever.
Okay. We're going to move on from all this.
Hi, Randy.
Oh,
Hey, how you doing?
by the way,
Good
Leo,
Randy.
I'm paying
Hey.
up my debt.
What?
See, I'm
What?
paying up my debt.
What? Oh wow! Hey, Mark, you got to get a picture of this, man.
I ain't got to get a
Come
picture
on.
of that.
Yeah, I gotta get that. Yeah, Troy, you gotta send me a picture of that. I'm proud of
Oh,
you,
I
bro.
got a picture of it.
I'm
got a
proud
picture
of you,
of it.
man. I'm
I'm
proud of
paying
you.
up my debt. I
Yeah,
said I'd
hey,
do it.
Hey, bring that to
Stand
the
up,
pic.
dude.
I gotta use the restroom, man.
That-
Bring this jersey
That's
to
that's
the.
the character thing, man.
Okay.
I gotta use the restroom real fast. I can use that to wipe my butt.
Game time, Brian says,
Oh,
we win championships when players get arrested.
This plane, I do like Randall Cunningham.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was
this
gonna
one's
say,
the Randall. It's
yeah,
also got the Jerome.
Jerome Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
And we just
Classic.
celebrated the 30th anniversary, 32nd anniversary, like a week ago, man. So good on you, man.
In other words,
Character-wise,
we have class, Leo. We have class.
You know what?
See,
I'm not even going to take that away, Mark. You're absolutely
I
right.
think
That's
I
that's
said-
what I'm saying. It's a classy move.
I think I said I'd wear it till the beginning of the season, but I
Yeah.
think I might have to wear it until Dallas beats Philadelphia.
Okay.
What?
Lane, I'm going to say probably some of that
turning
weight I
18
lost
pounds.
was water weight. But 15 pounds is not all water weight, bro. That's not all water weight. And the way I'm putting
Good working, man.
okay,
I seen you outside working.
and the way I've been putting in buckets of water, I think I've had 5 32-ounce tumblers of water today out working. Okay, so and still will be
Mark,
down.
are you getting your electrolytes? Do you have something like that? Like
Man, I've been
Yeah,
drinking
you
pickle
gotta have
juice.
that.
I've been drinking pickle juice when I go to sleep at night, so I don't crave.
Yeah, because I was saying if you try to drink straight water, that can mess you up.
Yeah, Mark.
No, but I've
put some
given
Gatorade
a
in
few
there at one
Gatorades
point.
once in a
Because
while.
I did that before. I was drinking like 2 jugs a day, and my uncle was like, he's a doctor. He was like, you can't do that. So
Listen,
Yeah,
I was
doctor.
downrange. I remember being downrange and having to go through. We were going through a lot or whatever, and I remember getting really, really sick and not being able to keep anything down. And it got so bad that they sent me to the med tent. And Mark, when they took a urine sample, my piss came out brown.
Yeah,
And
that's
it was-
when you know you're really,
I
really
was so-
dehydrated.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're
was
dehydrated.
So dehydrated that when they put a IV bag on me, and I laid there and I looked up and I remember watching, the bag shrink up like a raisin,
Yep.
and they had to hurry up, switch it out again, put another one on there. I went through like a couple of IV bags.
I'll
That's
bet
how,
you probably went through at least 5.
yeah,
It's-
and then to Mark's point, when your body is in that kind of stress or whatever, like as soon as I was getting it in and everything like that, I'm shitting too. So your body is processed, like it's trying to come back. I didn't realize how bad off I was until they took that urine sample and they was
Damn.
like, "Yo, man, there's blood in this." You know, like
Okay.
there
Yeah.
could be blood.
It
in
was
Like
they
you're
probably
playing.
put it on a full drip, opened it, didn't just let it drip. It probably went
Yeah,
full.
it just yeah. I
Just
watched
shot it
I
up in
would
there.
imagine it probably did that for the first 2 bags, but
Mm.
the other
Yeah,
3
yeah.
they
That's what
probably
I'm
put it
saying.
on
I
slow
just
drip.
watched it. I was like, whoa. But I didn't know. You know, I didn't understand. I thought
Leo.
that's the way it goes.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
Leo.
Yes, sir.
Leo. So
Oh
when
yeah,
I drink water, I order about a lot of water from Amazon. The water I do drink is cold water, cause I drink the lemon flavor or the
That's your,
grapefruit
There you
flavor.
go.
that's your
Yeah.
water.
Cold water, cause it has those
Oh.
electrolytes in it.
Electrolytes in it. Yeah. Yep.
Drinking
Yep. The
essential water
essentials.
too.
Yep. I drink
By the way,
But I tell you
Don't
what,
forget your mineral tablets.
you talk about pissing different colors. I
No,
got
not yet,
hit.
Dirty.
I
Yep,
got
not
hit in
yet.
college in the kidneys, and I was actually pissing blood. That
Yeah.
was a scary feeling.
That's
And
what they
and,
talked to me about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and another thing, if you have high blood pressure, something that's a superfood to help your blood pressure is actually beets.
Yep.
And garlic.
Mhm.
oh,
Okay.
I love beets.
Now,
Yeah,
I do
beets
some
great.
pickled beets,
Mhm.
you know, because you
So,
do like the
Mark.
sugar and vinegar. But if you eat a whole lot of beets, you will piss red.
Red.
Yep.
Yeah, and your
Yeah,
poo
but
will
that's
be
the-
too. And the
Yeah,
first
that's
time
the
it happened, I was like,
natural
"Oh my
red
God,
color.
what the hell?"
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that's
Not
the
to change
beets.
the subject, but
Okay.
prayers to the people in Texas. Like,
Yeah.
Amen on that one. Okay,
what they're going
Central
through over
Texas.
there right now. That's crazy.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
27
I'm about to
kids.
I'm about to
They
drive
went
over
missing
that
in
river here in
flood
about
at
20
that
minutes.
camp.
Walker
yeah.
Wade's in the
Be
house,
careful there,
man.
Wade.
Be
Bro.
careful, buddy.
What happened in Texas? What happened in Texas? I'm
Flooded.
Bad
Flash
flood.
flood,
The
man.
Guadalupe River flooded.
Guadalupe
Yeah.
River
Serious.
killed like 50 plus
yeah,
people.
we just had a tropical storm go through us. It made landfall last night, sometime
Yeah,
today or
we're
last
supposed to get
night.
some remnants
Around South
here
Carolina.
tomorrow.
No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the-
So it affected us. We got about 2 inches.
Oh,
of rain
Bobby,
last
come
half
on
an hour.
now. Can't win until the
Damn,
Cowboys
Bobby.
get. Can't eat till the Cowboys get a win.
You might be a
Come
skeleton
on,
by
man.
then, Bobby.
Damn.
Yeah, they
Okay, Bobby, I tell you what.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
do
My
that.
dad at the
I'll do
beginning
that
of
same diet if you do it with me, buddy. Does that mean we're not
Mark,
eating until
Mark,
September?
switching gears, do you think that arrest? Because I think this is a minor arrest for this guy. They might suspend him a week, maybe 2. I don't see
I don't
them
think he'll
doing.
get anything.
I don't think
It's
he'll
Well,
get
I was in
suspension.
Texas
I mean-
for the
either.
4th of July, and I was smoking with this dude named Kayvon. I say he played for the Cowboys, but he's an idiot because he wanted to play hot potato with some keys.
But
messing
LA,
with a cop.
but the one of your
Well, I don't know what the gun laws are. Is the question.
The YouTube, when you YouTubers for
Just
the
playing,
Dallas
guys.
Cowboys,
Just playing.
when the
Wait,
YouTubers
Turpin,
who
hey,
does,
Turpin, was that true? He got arrested or something?
He
Yeah.
got
Yeah,
arrested
he got
with
arrested.
less than
I
2
love
ounces
what
of
LA
weed
what
and
I know in
LA
Ohio,
YouTubers
weed's
say.
legal now.
He said you supposed to have a fall guy in your group. You
No,
can be
no,
the
no.
fall guy. If I got some
No,
guns,
no, Momo. Listen, him and some friends, someone else was the cops was going after somebody else.
right?
And Cavante Turpin and some other dudes got the guy's keys. So the cop was trying to get the keys, and they was doing hot potatoes with the keys.
Oh no, you
It
don't.
No,
was
no, 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 no.
Devontae
No, that was the San
Turpin, it was
Francisco guy.
Lenore somebody.
That was
Yeah,
San
but-
Francisco. That was their D-back. DB.
Yeah, Kavon. Look, anywho, the cop got pissed and snatched everybody up, and got Kavon and got him too. And that's when the gun and the weed came up. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't doing anything because of weed. He just what he did
if
do was
you know
he
how
brought
you know how the
attention to
NFL
himself.
is.
He was
In
officially
Texas, you
arrested
can have a
on,
fire.
Okay, hold on. I tell you what.
originally-
Let Holly explain it real quick because she actually sent me the information on it. But Holly, go ahead.
Okay, Cavante Turpin, this is not his first arrest. Back in 2018, he's been arrested twice for what was it?
Marijuana.
Abuse of a family member and a household
What's up, Derek?
member. And he didn't show up for court, so he on one of those. So he had a bench arrest on
A
him.
bench
But
warrant.
this
He had a
was
bench
back in
warrant.
this was back in 2018.
All right.
So that wasn't the first time he was arrested.
And he got arrested in the XFL too.
Well, I heard he got kicked out of TCU because of that.
Yeah,
He did.
Yeah,
he got
did.
suspended.
Yeah. So this dude,
Yeah.
had-
And that's
so
why
this-
he didn't make it to the pros. He played.
Look,
in the
it's not
UFL.
it's not
So this dude has
unlawful to have a
tendencies.
gun in Texas. I think it's just they charged him with a gun because he got drugs.
Damn,
Yeah,
dirty.
because
Yeah.
cannabis.
Well, it was
you
also
need to
probably
have a-
unlicensed.
You don't
too.
need to be licensed or have a permit. It's a constitutional right.
It's called
And,
stand
well,
your
they
ground.
As long
can
as it's
wear 'em
showing- as
openly
long
as
out
it's
here
showing
in
on
Fort
you.
Worth.
Adrian's
As long as
sitting in
it's
the first
showing.
place there. Thank
on
you
your
for the super
dash
chat.
when you're driving, or
But the
either on the
NFL,
side,
that's you know how the
you're
NFL
good.
does. You know the NFL don't like the Cowboys.
You're right
The
about that.
commissioner don't like Cowboys. They're gonna fine
Yeah.
him heavily or suspend him. Y'all know this. That's Cowboy fans.
Yep.
Well,
Well,
I don't think he'll get suspended.
Zeke, didn't
Well,
they
then,
just
then
put him
Jimmy
on
Ward better be
probation or
suspended from
something
Houston.
like that?
Yeah,
The Cowboys?
he
But that's not how it goes. It's not how they're going to look at it. This
Well,
is so-called America's team. They're going to punish America's team.
Not only
Y'all
that, the
know this.
NFL's our own
Y'all know
country
that.
anyway. You guys know
For
that. They
one,
got their
if
own
I'm
rules.
on the team, I'm calling them and I'm telling them, quit being stupid, quit riding around with marijuana in the car. It's okay to ride around with a pistol, but you can't be riding around with marijuana and a pistol.
Crazy.
pick a side, man. Just pick one. Okay.
Pick one,
And
right?
did they,
especially in Texas.
and I don't think they got him on the use of it, just having it in the car or something. Because I didn't see
It was possession.
driving
all
under the
things,
influence.
but to be
Yeah,
honest,
I was
with
just
you,
possession.
all things being light, if this is your one glitch in
We're
terms
doing
of
pretty good.
things happening, this ain't a bad glitch to have.
No.
And I don't think that with the
I
new
think in
collective
all
bargaining
sincerity,
Sorry,
it'll
Alan.
blow over.
I don't think
Says
it's
the
going to
man who
be
sells
as
weed
bad
for a
as
living.
it would have
I
been in
think
years
I
past.
think there will be some punishment. I don't know.
No,
Gonna be
Momo.
Not
I don't
necessarily.
think the NFL
There won't be no
gonna
punishment,
fine
Listen,
him.
Momo.
what
Over
I'm
something
saying
like this,
is, I
highly
don't think
unlikely,
it's going
especially with
to
the way
be.
today's laws are.
No,
It's not
this
going
ain't
to
Punishment will
got
be.
nothing
probably
to do
be
with
a
the laws.
fine.
I think people miss the misconception about this. Stop thinking about laws in states and in country. The NFL has a policy. If you get busted for any type of drugs, they're going to punish you. This has got nothing to do with laws. It's the
I don't
That's what
think the
NFL.
NFL's going to do it.
But what I'm
No,
Come on,
I
man.
what
We've
don't
I
had
think
am
they will.
telling
owners that's
you,
They're
been
going
in
to leave it
massage
up to the
parlors.
team itself, I
what
If
believe.
that's the
I'm
case,
telling
why did
you
Ricky
is
Williams get
that
in
when
all
it
that
comes
trouble
to
all those years and lose
Momo,
all that damn money? But because he loved smoking weed and they kept punishing him
I
because
wish they
it was
cared just as much as about like all the other crap that's going on as much as they do weed.
well,
I'm just
I mean,
telling
good
you,
Lord
that's
have
what the
mercy,
NFL
man.
Exactly,
they have a
Chris.
policy of that. Y'all know that.
well,
Why this breaking news? Y'all know that.
here's the thing. It's not going to be as severe as it
No, of
was in
course
years
not.
past.
No, it
So
won't.
not saying nothing's going to happen.
Oh,
I
something's
just
gonna
don't think
happen.
that it's going to be as bad. Maybe at most maybe a one game suspension or something like
Or a
that,
fine,
Or
or a
a
fifty
heavy
fine.
thousand,
fine.
ten
Yeah,
thousand dollar fine, or five
but
thousand
You
dollar
know,
it
fine. I can see
doesn't.
they'll
that.
probably get
It's not
fined a
going to
pretty
be
good chunk, and they'll
severe.
probably just leave it at that.
It's not going
Yeah,
to be
I agree with
severe
that.
enough that it's not going to be severe enough that it would actually have a big effect on the team as a whole.
But
They'll
That
just
being
probably
said,
lose money, and
all
that'd be
things
about
being
it.
equal, again, if this is as bad as it is in terms of the off seasons for the Dallas Cowboys, it's not a bad
it's still
It was
pass.
a
early
win,
to say,
especially 4th of July weekend. I mean, look at JPP. Look what he did when he got
Yeah,
blew his
exactly.
fingers off. So this is a big win
Yep.
for us.
yes, but
When he was trying to
JPP
get
getting on
paid.
Literally, he
target
had his
some.
fingers amputated.
Yes, I understand that, but he still was affected when he was with those hands amputated. He had a
Yeah,
good
Yeah, Tampa Bay, he
career.
was good. I'm just saying
Yeah,
though,
Yeah.
these two
that it could have been a
misdemeanors
lot worse.
ain't gonna prevent Turpin from running the kick
Well,
return back. He
there
can
you go.
do it with
Yeah,
that too.
yeah,
Oh, he'll be there.
yeah,
No. I'm just
We
saying.
ain't gonna be
All I'm
thinking.
saying, Derek, is that they're gonna be
yeah, Derek. Yeah.
Hi,
because
Kiana.
you don't want this going into training camp. That's all I'm saying.
well, San
We're
Francisco.
the Dallas
San
Cowboys.
Francisco.
I don't think if you're a Cowboys fan, you are used to this shit. We do not.
Exactly.
I don't think we could go one off season without
You
having
kidding me? The
something.
'90s Cowboys were an absolute team filled with people getting arrested, drugs, prostitutes,
They
cocaine.
had a whole house, right?
Lot lizards.
I mean, come on now.
Didn't they have
Come
a
on
whole
now.
house?
We've been used to this for 30 years
Yeah, they
already.
did.
Yeah.
Lot
And
lizards.
it gets me. It's just how many
lizard.
people get arrested for
I
having
mean,
guns
hell,
and
Dak's over here having sex
marijuana
with
in their
strippers in parking
vehicle,
lots. I
and we
mean,
don't hear
I
about
mean,
them.
hey.
We only hear about the
Right,
famous
because
ones that
a
do it.
week ago you had Lenore from San
What's
Francisco
good, Dirty
who got
Sanchez?
busted
Just be
with,
safe on that road, bro.
basically the same thing. Oh, they were basically playing keep away with the keys, and they found a gun in his car. Now his hearing,
That's what I'm saying. He brought attention to himself. He was
yeah.
like that's the idiot side of it all.
Well, but
You
that
know what
wasn't
I'm saying?
Turpin. No, I'm saying, but this happened a week ago, and that was like, it was a blip on the radar for about 30 seconds. Now we'll see what it's like
Right.
tomorrow.
Well, did you hear what Law Nation said?
But
that DB from Houston, Jimmy Ward, he's getting charged with
No,
a felony, and there's been no talk about that.
It's San Francisco.
And it's a felony.
I didn't heard
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that.
What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How funny we have something to yak about 2 weeks before training camp.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa. Whoa. Sorry. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and nobody talks about
So
it.
here's the- here-
Nobody
like I
talks
said
about that,
before-
but they're talking about a misdemeanor for Turpin.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah, it's
Anything that a Cowboy do, player or organization wise, is going to be out in the news. Period.
Alex
That's what I just
Andre,
said.
what do you mean Leo equals gorilla? Like, what is that? Like, what do
You're
you?
a beast.
Oh, okay.
By the way, Leo, send me your email. I'll send you that picture of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm putting it in the chat now.
Okay.
All right. Well, shout out to everybody who's here today. Appreciate it.
Cowboys
Yeah, everybody have a
Nation,
good
we're
4th of
used to
July
this,
weekend.
but that's the
Besides
thing is
Turpin.
the team is capable of dealing with this. They're used to this. It's not,
I don't think the team per se players are used to it.
Mhm.
you play for the
This
Cowboys.
happens every-
you're
this
used to a
happens
lot of
every
things
year,
with-
yeah.
with
Yeah,
Trent.
always-
This happens every year. They're used to
all
it.
this nonsense.
Well, they got
Come on,
Momo,
you trying to
they're the
compare
number
something
one
happened
talked
30
about
years ago.
team.
Come on now.
What are you
stop it.
talking about?
Well,
They're
Yeah,
number
that's
one
why they
talked
do
about
it.
team.
Okay, so here's
Click
the deal.
ratings.
Okay, as far as the weed goes, the NFL is not testing and finding people for that. Okay,
Yeah.
that was part of the last collective bargaining agreement. Basically, they said, "Hey guys, you want to smoke some weeds and like wear like different color socks? Give us an extra game, and we'll kind of sweep that under the rug." So that's not the problem. The legal aspect, probably the gun charge, if it ends up being anything there, would be the reason they get suspended, not because of the weed.
No, yeah, that's what I was referring to, Mark.
Yeah.
Well,
and that may come
you
into
have
play
both
with
together makes it a
the
felony.
abuse. That may come into play with the abuse back in 2018,
Right.
depending on what was said and done in court.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah,
See,
usually
so-
when you have a firearm
problem
arm with something that's
is-
What was
legal
he
like
charged?
that, it is a felony.
So what was he
Is
charged at the
yeah, you
XFL?
can't have a firearm with drugs. You can't.
Yeah,
What-
you're right.
Leo, do you
Yes,
know
sir.
what he was charged when he was in the XFL?
No, what was
Oh,
he
he just
charged
said
with?
it. Oh, he just said it. The assault on a family member or something,
Mhm,
and he
yeah.
didn't show
Yeah,
up.
he was assaulted, assaulted a family member. But it was two.
Yep.
It was two different arrests he got. It wasn't just one. in
Lamar Davis,
2018.
you wrong for that one.
And then, he got that with destruction of property, and then interference, trying to interfere with communicating. I guess when they were trying to call the police, and so he only pleaded guilty to the abuse charge and the destruction of property, but he didn't. But he didn't plead guilty to interference with communication.
Yeah.
Was he convicted on that communication
Well,
charge?
I just want to say something to everybody
I don't
because
know.
think so.
I just
I
got
don't
this
think
message,
so.
but I think it's important. I just want to say that for everybody on this platform right now, we have actual former Baltimore Raven in the chat watching right now, and it's someone who actually pioneered the whole cannabis in the NFL thing, and that's Eugene Monroe. But he's watching right now. I told him we was on.
Is he actually
What's
commenting?
going on, Eugene?
Huh?
What's up,
I
Eugene?
was just saying with Gene. We was just saying what's
Hi,
going on.
Eugene.
Yeah, good dude. Yo, he actually went head up with the NFL on this very issue, and
That's awesome.
he just texted me. He was like, "People get the cannabis issue wrong all the time," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to y'all, and I'm like, this is."
Well, so
you guys
come on, come on here and
This is, I
explain
mean,
it
this
to
is
us.
But see, here's
this
the-
is my
but see,
this is my
there's-
opportunity to talk to a former NFL player. Can
Mark, do I have
$5?
permission?
There ain't nothing wrong with
do I have permission
cannabis.
to
There's
share
nothing wrong with
the
cannabis.
Zoom
Wait a
link?
minute, hold on, one person at a time.
Mark, do I have permission to share the Zoom link?
Yeah, go ahead. Of course.
Okay.
But see, here's the thing that if you guys remember, Chris Long, after he retired,
I'm gonna share
talked
the link.
about how they know when the test is going to be, which is right in April. And he said, I smoked weed throughout my whole career. He said, I just know that in the end of March, stop smoking weed, drink plenty of water, flush it out your system. You get your one test, you pass it, you ain't got to worry about it till next year. It was because Randy Gregory, for example, kept getting busted. Because he got busted, at the combine and stuff, he got in
I'm not
protocol, in which
passing
case
you on this
he
hill.
was tested on a weekly basis. More than likely, Chris Long was smoking more weed than Randy Gregory was because he wasn't being tested. You understand where we're going here? About 70% of the players are smoking weed. It's not like it's oh my God, no, it's. And I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or different, but Lord knows, I mean, I can tell you some stories from JMU about somebody's in the Hall of Fame and things. Okay, so
Eugene Monroe.
What's
There you
good?
go.
Hey,
What up,
Mark,
dog?
you mentioned something interesting, Mark. And
welcome to the
I know
chat, man.
Chris well because he was my college teammate,
Right.
as well as continues to be a brother and a good friend. I love Chris to death. But one thing you mentioned about the process, like he definitely was open about the fact that we knew when the test was coming. The problem is the time that you have to lay off of cannabis if you're trying to skirt the test is the time when you need it the most. In the off season, after you had multiple surgeries and needed to recover. And so now you're just taking the opioids that they prescribe you. I've lost teammates. The guard that played next to me in Jacksonville, Vince Manowai, died shortly after retiring because he became addicted to drugs. That addiction was on set by the team doctor prescribing those opioids. And it's no different. It's not just a football player thing. We've seen this throughout our whole country.
Yeah, because they're not making money.
Definitely.
They're not making money on the weed, on the prescription medication and stuff. And I'll be real with you, I can't stand taking any pain meds. Eugene, I appreciate you being on here, man. This is an honor to have a former NFL player, even though you were a rat bird. That's for my friend Richard, who's a Steeler fan. Okay, he's always the damn.
And that's the Dab and Cabin behind him, Mark.
Yeah, I got to check out the Dab and Cabin too. But the opioids, because I've had a few knee operations and stuff. I can't stand the feeling that I have. Even taking blood pressure medicine for a few weeks, it just felt like I wasn't myself. Now, I can say I smoked
2 years ago. I had my shoulder replaced, and I didn't take a single opiate. Actually, I grew the cannabis myself, organically extracted it into MCT oils, and I just took capsules. And I healed faster from that surgery than any surgery before, and I got my shoulder partially replaced.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome, Eugene.
Can I
thank you for the work you've done for cannabis
when
users.
I say that, right, your favorite players are having procedures in the off season, but they don't have that as an option, right? So they've got to skirt the policy to be able to take good care of themselves. And I mean, enough is enough. Like, we've seen enough. We've heard enough from doctors. I mean, I started Doctors for Cannabis Regulation when I retired to attack the team doctors. They wouldn't even have the conversation, although the medical, system in their states was legalizing this new modality that they should be teaching their players about. Look, we know who runs the league. We know when they were born, and Leo can probably speak tighter to the age gap and understanding, with cannabis and those policies. But yeah, I mean, Leo, go ahead and speak on that for a second.
I was about to say, shout out to Congress, because it looks like we're about to be able to get the prescription for cannabis from the VA. They just passed that yesterday.
Passed on what? Hold on, Leo. On what? The VA?
The VA, yeah. The VA will be allowed to prescribe cannabis to veterans. The largest customer for opioids in the country is the veterans.
Yes. I'm a veteran myself.
And so now they're going to allow.
That's awesome.
Allow for VA to allow for veterans to be prescribed cannabis.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can I say something really quick?
And you know what, guys? I'm gonna tell you something. And this is something that a lot of people is crazy. I'm on the Cowboys chat talking about this, and this is the side of Leo you guys never really get to see. But what's even crazier now is that it's so bad, y'all. They mail the stuff home. They mail it to us now, like the opioids and stuff. They mail them to us now.
I want to start off saying, Leo, I appreciate what you're doing, because
honor.
maybe it'll open up the door for people like me that have had surgeries like on their eyes.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I had transplants on both eyes, and they don't give you nothing for it at all. And you have stitches around your eye. They pull only a couple out at a time. Wind hits it, it hurts, it burns. And these are corneal transplants. So I kind of had to use that instead of getting a felony because this is how dumb it is. You go get numbing drops from an optometrist, you can't give it to you anyway. But it's a felony if you're caught with a numbing drop just to numb it. I'd rather have, the other, but I have used it and it helped me. And by hitting it through a bong and putting my eye up to it, it's pure, being purized, and it's going in there and it's working. I actually know my eye. That's how I kind of got through it, to be honest. So there needs to be a lot of, I think, I think we need to get.
I don't think people realize how prevalent the opioid addiction epidemic is in the NFL. At one point, the Atlanta Falcons issued out 7,000 doses of opioids. There's only 53 guys on the team.
One of my former UGA teammates was also an Atlanta Falcon, and unfortunately became addicted to those opioids, and been living in the streets, homeless at a point. So I'm glad that we're seeing this change, and hopefully the NFL gets the picture and follows suit with the other organizations like the NBA, and just stop testing for cannabis. There's no reason for it.
Well, thank you. No, and I want to say thank you guys too, because I have family members who have used cannabis to help them with cancer, to help them with diseases, and I thank people like Eugene and Leo, because it's not a bad thing like these owners think it is.
My mother has stage 4 liver cancer, and she's using cannabis to help maintain her weight, just to have energy, and it's been making a huge difference in her.
Huge.
I appreciate it because you guys are making an attempt to get things done.
Eugene, I have a question for you.
I wish they had it when my father-in-law was going through cancer, but he wasn't able to get it, and they couldn't get it, illegally or anything like that.
Okay.
But it sure would have saved him a lot of the pain that he was
guys,
in.
If you're a Cowboys fan, you should automatically qualify for medical cannabis.
Oh, damn.
What he said.
Hey, Eugene,
you can't argue with that one. That's a good point right there.
I know who you are. I've been watching you guys for a long time.
Okay.
Leo always hits
I
me up
have
when
a
you're
question
on.
for you. I have a question for you. And it's gonna be one of these crazy questions.
Don't go down the rabbit hole,
from Momo.
I respect.
Oh, Momo, I was just at Daryl Green's house too. I see that Redskins behind. I was just there with the legend.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Momo,
we gotta get together, bro.
Momo, this is the opportunity, Momo. Do not run the
Do
first
not mess it up and scare him away.
NFL player we've ever had up here.
Yeah, he likes me. So he likes my takes. Go to my channel.
It's a harmless organization. Ain't nobody worried about them.
I do have okay, Eugene, I have a question for you. Because of the NFL and the rules they had, because the players don't really do a whole lot of physical during training camp. So because of the new rules, would you have been a better player and played longer in the NFL today that you did in your previous stint in the NFL?
You mean in terms of what?
They're not getting the workout. It's not as physical. There's no more tour days.
Yeah. So when I was in the league, it was still very much a time where we were throwing those pads twice a day, banging every day. I mean, Jack Del Rio had us in pads on Friday until goal line period, and then we would take them off. So it was a very different climate. But I will say there's something to be said now about the level of athleticism and quite frankly strength that we're seeing. Kids are specializing in all of this stuff way earlier. Right. So it's a different game, and we're smarter about taking care of ourselves now. And there's more of an emphasis on recovery for performance.
But if you knew the information now, and if you was playing and they had that in place, would you have last longer in the NFL, and your body
Okay.
you wouldn't have all these off
Momo,
the
he
seasons?
just
I
said
can
it
speak.
changed
I'll speak
after him.
No, I'm
specifically to
asking
this.
him
No,
if
it
he would have.
changed while I was there. It actually changed while I was
Oh, okay,
there.
okay. Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Okay,
a few
okay.
years in, we had the holdout, and I remember all of that stuff. And then that's when they changed 2-a-days to you can practice once, and then you have a walkthrough, which became another practice anyway, depending on who your coach was. But certainly with an emphasis on recovery, I think that paired also with if they would have allowed me to use cannabis without issue, I wouldn't have been, taking the Vicodin that they handed me every day. I walk in the building, here comes a trainer with a little baggie of Vicodin and Celebrex. And then I'd need some other medicine because they mess up my stomach. So I get I would be in a lot less toxic situation. I don't know about longevity of career for me. I had a bunch of concussions and decided to stop playing because I didn't really recover from the last one. But yes, it would have been set up for more longevity for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
I want to
I
just
respect. I respect those players like yourself and others. So I just want to ask you that.
I just want to give a quick congratulatory to my business partner and brother Eugene for getting his number, his jersey in the Hall of Fame here in New Jersey.
Nice. Congratulations, Eugene.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
let me ask.
And
thanks for all the work you're doing with the cannabis.
and Eugene, you got to tell him, you got to give him the story about going up against Dwight.
Oh man, I got to hear that.
Oh shit!
You're on mute, bro. You're on mute. You're muted.
I'll jump in another time and we can take back some stories like that. That'll be fun.
Hey Eugene, I just wanted to say
it's funny because Dwight was out golfing with a friend of mine, and I ended up just having a good laugh with him about all those battles that he unfortunately won more of. But yeah, that dude was real, man. There's a couple of people that each generation of players, there's a few guys that are just special beyond reason, and he's certainly one of them.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
That's awesome.
Okay. Oh, let me get one question in real quick with Monroe here. First of all, let me say thank you for joining us on this and things.
All good, man. I love the show.
After playing football for 7 years, 93 games and stuff, how has your body been as far as the pain? Because see, people, we watch football and people, say, man, this guy's a pussy, man. He needs to get back out there and stuff. Can you speak to how difficult it is, first of all, to get to that level, and second, to be able to stay out there with the pressure of knowing that they're always looking to replace you?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you said is it. So the level of awareness and alertness of your situation at all times. I mean, the only thing that parallels it, and I think there's a respect between, each of these factions because of that, I would say, is military. And that's, I think, why you see the love between the military and ball players, because they share that fact. So, it's always next man up regardless. So, your job is on the line, no matter how much they're paying you. No matter if you won the Super Bowl the year before, if you shit the bed the next year, it's a very different vibe for you in that building. And so, it's, I think that's why it's so special when you see guys who are able to, have extremely long careers, because they have been through some adversity. Even the guys who might not necessarily have, an injury event that requires surgery, the repetitive trauma on your body stacks up year after year, season after season, really day after day during the season. You get in the best shape you possibly can all off season, training camp hits, and then you destroy your body again, which is, why I think, it's better for fans that, the NFL is leaning towards recovery-based practices, and you do have some medical offices across the league that are moving out of that sort of antiquated, archaic realm of medicine and bringing in new healing modalities, bringing in all the lasers and all the things that are cutting edge to help players heal faster and stay on the field. And it would be even better if they understood the connection with that healing, those time frames, and the advent of using cannabis responsibly to speed those processes up as well.
But isn't it kind of, though, talking out of both sides of your neck where they realize, okay, you know, the recovery part is important, but yet we got Thursday night games. You know, if you got to play on Sunday and Thursday, there is no way in the world that there's a recovery there.
The worst stretch, you know, if your season is scheduled, there's been, I think, 2 seasons in my career where we had 3 games within 10 days, right? You have your Sunday night game, your Thursday, your Monday, and however those lay out. And you just can't recover. It's impossible. And so everything changes with the preparation in those weeks, you know, but most teams get that process wrong. And so, yeah, that's just that tough thing that it's part of the game, right? You go through it. It's one of the storylines that makes or breaks the season for some people. But it just is what it is. When you get those cards and you have those games stacked on top of each other, you know, it's even more important for those practices to be in order for your organization.
Yeah.
A question real quick, and I don't know if this is kind of off topic, but I heard you mention about CTE on there. What is your thought with Antonio Brown? Because I'm like Mark, I think that hit he took.
Oh man.
That he really changed him, and of course, you know, he had concussion. What are your thoughts on the Antonio Brown situation?
Interesting case, because Antonio, I think, is a lot smarter than people give him credit. They see crazy, and maybe there is some of that. And I will say, in terms of head trauma and personalities changing, that's all very real. And there's probably more players who you haven't heard about that are in worse positions than the guys who are publicly facing. And it's a real problem. A few years back, he's now a good friend of mine, but Brian Safering, who was the D lineman for the Browns at one point, his life was in complete shambles. When I met him, he was carrying around a bag of 20 different pills because, you know, all of the docs that were trying to help him on the NFL side were just pumping medicine to him. And you can look up the story about that. We introduced cannabis to him, and it completely changed his life. And so, you know, there's way too many guys that, you know, are dealing with the effects of head trauma. And really, it's not just NFL guys. There's guys who play high school football, and, you know, your brain's not healing from that trauma. And it's a big problem that, you know, we really need to continue to push solutions for. At one point, like when the concussion movie came out, it was a big deal. You hardly hear about it anymore. It's sort of been brushed under the rug, but it's an issue that is not going anywhere.
You were teammates.
I'm glad you guys are fighting for that.
Yeah, I have a question for you. What you're saying with the quarterbacks these days and the rules that have changed where you can't hardly even touch the quarterback. Do you agree with that?
I do. Absolutely. You know, and they're still going to take their shots, but, you know, just understand, you know, if you stood there, you know, look with your eyes down the field and a 320-pound dude who's trying to feed his kids tries to take your head off and you're defenseless. I mean, we've enjoyed those big hits, but now that we know what those big hits do to the human body and brain, I think we should look at that differently. And it's not necessarily a matter of, you know, the game being softer, but the game is being smarter now.
Right.
Okay, but hold on. It also impacts the play though, because if you are scared to hit the quarterback and you barely touch him, you get a 15-yard penalty.
Look, man, I'm not a defensive
guy. You also have like times where Patrick Mahomes would. Yeah, but I'm saying like Patrick Mahomes.
That, like, Patrick Mahomes,
I'm just saying it impacts the game because Patrick Mahomes, he'll act like he's going to slide, and the defensive players will pull back, and he'll keep running, and he'll get 15 more yards. That impacts the game because
it impacts the game.
Isn't allowed to touch the quarterback.
There needs to be a way, like, for quarterback, yes. Should they be protected? Yes. But in the event of what you just described, with like the fake slides and that stuff needs to be eliminated, for sure, because it's unfair if there's this rule where you can't get hit. But if you give the impression that you're starting a sliding motion, that all of a sudden you're defenseless, but then you decide to take off and get another 15, that needs to be handled for sure.
Mm. Hey, Eugene, I was just curious. Do you think the design of the helmets is cutting down on some of these CTE?
No, the helmet is completely insignificant as it relates to the issues with CTE. So think about your brain. It's not like suspended. It's in your skull, and it moves in your skull. So no matter what you put outside of it, if you're running 20 miles an hour and then it stops, well, your brain keeps going.
Go forward.
So it doesn't matter really what you put outside the head. You're going to have some effects
because of the fluid in your brain.
Yeah, the fluid. That brain's just going to rattle inside you no matter what.
It's not like you're a woodpecker, where the
exactly.
brain is
So
suspended.
It sounds like that the NFL may be just blowing smoke out there that hey, CTE is down so many percent.
Here's what you have to understand.
It's all it's just marketing.
Yeah,
right? It's just marketing. They can pay however much money it costs for some data to come out and say this helmet is safer. It doesn't mean anything. It's just marketing.
And the NFL always protects the brand, okay? The NFL is more reactionary. So when they had the concussion movie came out, they basically said, we're going to put all this money to take care of players. But I'm sure Eugene can speak to it better than I can. But what you have to do to get it,
$100 million for player health and safety. What happened with that?
But the thing is, to get it,
I was in the league.
But to get it, you've got to jump through hoops. I think it was Julian Edelman who basically they tried to say, well, your knee injuries, you can't prove that it happened because of football. You could have done it cutting the grass. And for minority players, they said as far as concussions go, that your cognitive abilities were lesser than a Caucasian person to start with. And so as the test results would come out, and they'd say, well, on the curved scale, you're not any worse than what, you should be being a person of color. So they've done this thing to make it sound like we care about the players. What they care about is the image that they're putting out here. It's the same thing about Ray Rice. The NFL wasn't worried about suspending players because of off-field issues until it became a hot topic. And all of a sudden, they did Zeke Elliott because we've got to make a statement that we care about players not abusing others.
Yeah, the whole Ray Rice thing is crazy because that man stood in front of the whole team and told us that he messed up. And then they executed him after once the video showed up.
Yeah. Wow. Michael Orr was a teammate of yours, correct?
Sure was. I've known Michael since high school. We were on the U.S. Army All-American team together.
Nice.
He had a lot of concussion issues, didn't he? That's where it ended his career early too, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Mike had some pretty serious concussion issues too. There's probably most linemen that could say that, but won't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
now, Eugene, in terms of public perception when it comes to players when they get hurt, what do you think? Do you think public perception is starting to change, or you think it's still way off?
You mean in terms of how people?
Oh, he ain't really hurt. He need to be out there, like that.
Yeah.
It's tough. You're not that guy, right? So I'll tell you what happened with me. I tore my labrum in my shoulder when I played for the Ravens that last year I was on the field. I went to the team doctors. They reviewed my MRI and told me it was a strain. But I sent my MRI off to 3 separate doctors who all highlighted on video for me exactly where my shoulder was torn up. And so John Harbaugh treated things very differently, as if I should have been on the field, as if I should have been practicing, but I literally couldn't move my arm in the swimming pool trying to do a rehab. And so, yes, like and I also know that when that happened, he made someone pull a study on players who were able to play with a torn shoulder. Problem is, this is the second time I tore the same shoulder.
Damn.
So yes, that's not just a public perception. It's a perception within the organizations. And you're only as good as your availability.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: it's nice as being fans to hear somebody like you bring these issues up in front of us, because we really don't see any of this stuff. We just hear what's going on in the media. So it's nice to have somebody educated like yourself tell us what's actually going on behind the closed doors.
Yeah, Leo, we can finally credit Leo for doing something right.
Man, but having put up with him for the last 2 years, just to get.
I think we should have Eugene on more often. I mean, he's got great insight as to what's going on.
Let me tell you guys something, and I've consistently say this, and Eugene knows it, but of all my NFL friends, Eugene is top 2, because I give it to Amani Toomer being the worst, but Eugene is a horrible person in terms of the shit that he says. Like, you guys think you're bad when it comes to the Eagles and stuff like that. This dude, he's the absolute worst.
He's my best friend now.
He's a Raven for life.
There's really only one real bird, man.
Battle of the birds.
So just listen. Again, I know I say he's my brother and we're in business together. All that. No, he's an asshole, a big asshole. And I mean, like, we'll take it to the umpteenth power. We'll dress up a whole cabin and put on a Chiefs shirt just to fuck with you. And then
I have real family on.
And then because he has friends,
Andy Heck was there coaching.
And then he has friends that are on the team, so he decides to show me, what they're doing inside the locker room after they beat my team for the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Like he does that. They're FaceTiming him and showing him, and he's like, look, dog, look. And it's like, again, he's a horrible person, but I love him though.
Yeah.
Hey, Eugene, I want to just ask you one thing here. Was Steve Smith as bad as he was when you played together with him as he was here at the University of Utah?
Steve is one of a kind, man. He's one of a kind. I love Steve. That dude's a firecracker, man. All day, every day. You know exactly what you're gonna get with that dude.
We loved him here at the U. Yeah, we loved him here at Utah.
Very fun.
Where are the Ravens gonna finish this year?
With a ship?
I think they could beat Kansas City. I think Kansas City about to be on the downward trend.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to
the only problem with the Ravens is what Lamar Jackson you going to get.
Gene keep that good shit, so he always saying, things when he's high. So.
There's only one.
But I'm sorry, my Cowboys got to get that 6th ring.
Oh shit!
Getting tired of waiting.
I'm just saying,
we are definitely tired of waiting.
I'm just saying, Lamar Jackson, 1 minute he's all world, but he gets the postseason, he freezes up now. You got.
I got a very different perspective on what you guys are talking about and what I see, which matches. What also matches what happened when I was in Baltimore and we made the playoffs. We were playing New England in Foxborough and running all over them on the ground. But we come out at halftime with a different game plan for some reason. And I think that's what we saw this past year as well. Along with, there are other players who in those big moments, like, you got to show up and
you can't do it all by yourself. A lot of people place blame on Lamar for how that's the end of the season went. And
believe so. Some of it, his performance, but I think it was an effort that also included coaching, which has to be talked about as well.
So when you're coming out after halftime, changing it up, that's like coach. and offensive coordinator and head coach, and I guess making that call.
Well, sometimes you outsmart yourself.
Call, but it was stupid.
But Jason Garrett would always outsmart yourself. You got something that's working. I'm trying to remember which game it was, but we lost.
It was
Amari
Green Bay.
Cooper.
It was the Green Bay game. Remember when they came back and we were up like 30 to 7 or something?
Actually, no. It was against Minnesota because Dak was hot as hell. We lost Tyron Smith. We lost Amari Cooper. And Zeke had like 30 yards running. And we were behind by, I think,
no problem,
9 points because our kicker missed an extra point. And instead of going down the field where Dak was throwing, he ended up saying, okay, let's now run Zeke 2 times in a row. So we ran the ball 2 times, lost yardage. Then we threw a screen to Zeke where we picked up 1. And by that time, it was 4th down and we had to go for it. And it was like Dak was hot. You had something that was working. Let's go back to running. And you couldn't run the whole thing. So it's like sometimes the coaches are part to blame for the loss too. But Eugene could probably speak to it's more than just Lamar. You need everything to go right, especially when you are dealing with elite talent in the playoffs, that you have to have everybody clicking on the same cylinder.
Like Philadelphia, yeah.
Oh, shut up, Leo.
and listen, he saw the film in person. He saw that team in person and what they did to Baltimore. So, I know I was there with him. So tell him.
Oh boy.
Hey, Leo, I just want you to understand this, Leo, and everyone else here knows it, but you seem not to know. But what's done is done. Y'all won the ship last season. It is now a new league year. You are the defending champions, not the champions. So just be ready, man. Just be ready.
You're the prey, not the predator anymore. You're the prey.
So read between the lines.
Yeah, I like that.
Read between the lines on that one. What Eugene just said to you, Leo, is
you are the hunted.
I was hearing Shannon Sharp talk about that when the teams get to the playoffs, a lot of the coaches are set in their ways, and the ones that break through are the ones that are willing to change in the playoffs and do things differently than they're not used to.
Damn, Vinny Hagan is cooking me, man.
Which is kind of why this is why the Detroit Lions got beat, because I think what's his name he kept going for it and it bit him in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
And they also were decimated by injury too, so there's that part of their season.
Well, I think it was the year before. Was it the year before against San Francisco in the NFC Championship? He went for it.
Yeah, they went for it too much in the game in San Francisco, I believe.
And against us when we played them the year before.
No, they were decimated last year for sure.
They were decimated, but they were still winning games. They still won 15. They still won 15 games. The offense wasn't decimated. It was the defense was decimated. They had us.
The year before Detroit was pretty healthy when they played the 49ers.
Oh yeah.
Eugene, who is the number one nemesis that a player that you went against that you finally got the best of? You would have a hard time trying to get him, but you finally got the best of. Who would be that number one nemesis?
I never saw the game that way. No matter who I played or how good he was, like he's strapping up just like me. So, it's just knowing who you're playing against, knowing him better than he knows himself, and then also understanding where you're going to get exposed in your game. I just approach it that way all the time. And I know there's storylines about, the good players and the elite ones and all that, but it didn't matter. As an offensive lineman, you got to do your job every play, no matter who's lining up across from you. There are players who I can say, were much tougher. I guess I'll say this. The player who I played against who was the most complete defender that was a problematic in every phase of the game was Julius Peppers.
Wow.
Julius Peppers was a beast.
Wow. There's a reason why he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mean, he's got inducted last year.
Yep.
He was an elite athlete. And with defensive ends, it's rare that you get like the power guy who's also the quick first step guy and speed up field guy. He could just do everything. And on top of that, he was a problem in the run game. He uses his hands so well. He was great at understanding timing of shedding to get in on plays. Like he was just all around one of the best.
Oh,
what about
James,
James Harrison? You went up against him, didn't you?
Oh, that dude's scary.
He's a beast.
Yeah. James Harrison was definitely a great player too. I'll say this: he
was really good in his older age too.
He's only one of two guys on the field where I ran up on them and like their strength was a difference. Certainly for him, that was one of his strengths. And another guy who I played against who was almost immovable was Vince Wilfork.
Damn.
Yeah,
that's a big dude right there.
Let me ask you something else here. So, how did you and Leo get hooked up in doing the work that you guys are doing with the veterans and now the NFL?
Oh wow! You want me to tell it, Gene? Or
Go ahead, Leo. Yeah, you tell it.
So, Eugene and I, we both were part of winning organizations who were awarded cannabis licenses in New Jersey back in 2017, 2018.
Yep.
And we actually and prior to that, we would go to a number of different events and stuff like that talking about this. And a lot of times Eugene and I would be like the only two black dudes in the room. So you know how after a while you see the same black person, and you go, hey, black person, and all of a sudden it just goes from hey, other black person to what's up, dog? It was like that. And then
but see, I start out with what's up, dog.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like we just see each other, and we got to know each other. And what ended up happening is Eugene came to see me one day, and that was when he had that surgery. And it was the first time that Eugene and we had went like a couple of years without talking to each other. And so I had thought that things, with all the, the happenings with his company, I was like, oh, he was updating me on that. And then he was updating and I was updating him. And we just both realized we were free agents at the time and decided to put our networks together and form a company and go after getting in the cannabis game at the same time while advocating for this. And so our organizations sort of kind of crossed, and then we ended up forming our own company and started, getting into the weed game, like really fighting for this. And at the same time, Eugene had done his work and with the NFL, with going up against them, and understand this dude is a top 10 draft pick. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, and we've had conversations with people who have told us, who've explained to us how exactly the NFL really views this man. You know what I'm saying? Like what his records say at headquarters, you know what I'm saying? Which is, smart, gonna be a problem, fights for cannabis, all that shit. That's how they officially look at him.
So we can say it's safe to say that Eugene is the brains of the organization then.
Yes, it is. He's the CEO. Yes.
Okay.
He's the general. He's the main guy.
And for everybody out there who thinks that Leo is a pain in the ass, he is a pain in the ass Eagle fan.
As an Eagle fan, yeah.
As an Eagle fan, but he is actually doing both of them. I'm sorry. Eugene and Leo and the rest of their company are doing amazing work helping veterans as well as NFL players.
I do have a question.
Always have a question.
Yeah, we have a signature brand.
I just had a question for Eugene. I know you played offensive tackle. So from our perspective, we got Tyler Guyton. He went from playing right tackle to left tackle. A lot of people don't realize how hard it is to adjust to go from right tackle to left tackle. I mean, maybe you can enlighten us on that.
Yeah. So when I decided to retire, the Giants and the 49ers both had like the same level of money in the contract for me, but they both wanted me to play right tackle, and that was enough for me to say, see ya, not doing this. It's very different. You would think that, it's just doing something on the other side, but consider this, right? Like how many boxers are as efficient as they are on southpaw orthodox? It's a completely different game. It's no different with tackle. And I trained I've been a left tackle forever. And when you're like the best player, you don't play other positions. So there was never a time where I'm like flopping around. I was a left tackle since forever. And everything I had done training on SI, even when I consider the different injuries I have and the different like overuse issues from all the repetitive motion from training and playing, it's all specific to exactly where I was on the field because of those issues. Some guys can do it, right? I've seen guys who can play on both sides. I played with Rick Wagner in Baltimore. I think he went on to play for maybe Detroit. I know he played a few years after that. Rick could play either side, but that wasn't me. I was a left tackle.
I have a question.
You always have a question.
Oh boy.
Okay, so no, here's the question because I'm always talking about how NFL fine players. What's the most ridiculous fine an NFL fine you as a player?
You know what? I think I got fined one time for unnecessary roughness. It wasn't anything crazy.
Right. Because we all know they fine you for wearing if it's the headset, musical headset, or whatever it is, or your socks don't match, or et cetera, or you trying to rock
Leo,
something that your loved one gave you.
Momo. He's not a Dallas Cowboy, so they didn't come up with creative fines for him, okay?
Whatever.
Yeah, no, I was a lineman. I wasn't really worried about how I was dressed out there. I had a job to do.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that because I'm just saying
but
I'm
some
always
players like to show their personality or express different causes. But the NFL is a very rigid organization, and they want things their way. They want their boys to fall in line, essentially.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but you see over time, there's been players who just took those fines and kind of did whatever they wanted. You to one point you want some uniformity, but like let the players be players. Like I don't understand why they police that stuff so stringently.
Right. For me, so I always complain to the NFL how the rules change
about everything.
No, actually,
Yes,
I don't.
do.
Actually, I don't. I just tell the truth, and y'all don't want to hear the truth. Y'all want to hear a lie. And
Okay,
what the
I'm sorry.
NFL machine.
I'm sorry.
Derek, see, you got him going.
Lightning is going to strike here in a minute.
Get started.
I'm sorry.
Eugene is telling you what the NFL does. He's saying the same exact thing. They put this propaganda out there to make you believe that they are urging his culture, which I've been saying since I've been on this channel that NFL is about the money and they don't care about the players. I said that and so many times, and Eugene heard me, and that's why Eugene likes me. Thank you, Eugene.
He's just being nice to you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Though they do not care about the players, and as soon as you're unavailable from injury, they already had the next guy in line. They're not looking for.
So Eugene, what's your? Can you give us a story or something about when you played against the Dallas Cowboys and when? Do you remember?
We don't want to hear about anyone where the Ravens won.
I was so upset when I played them, right? Because I had to block DeMarcus Ware all day, and somehow I gave up a sack to Spencer, and I'm just like, how did this even happen? But it was around the time when they had the new stadium, and we went there. And so that's probably about all I have to say about the Cowboys. I only played them a couple times.
So did you play the Cowboys in the last game in Texas Stadium?
No.
Because I know the Baltimore Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens did play the Cowboys in the last game in Texas Stadium. I know that.
And we lost.
And
we've only beaten the Ravens one time.
Eugene, remember it was a game that you wasn't part of. It was a game. It was a game. It was Monday Night Football when that player, for the Buffalo Bill, when he basically died in the field, and the players revolted. They didn't want to play, and they were trying to get the players to play.
DeMar Hamlin, you talking about?
Yeah. Huh?
DeMar Hamlin?
He didn't die. He had cardiac arrest.
Yeah, cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest, and that's for the first time in my life I was seeing players revolted. Because the rule is you take your ass back on the field. We don't care nothing about these players. They really don't care. So the players are supposed to go back on the field, and the players said no on both sides of the ball. I mean, both teams, to say, and they even took time out, went back there, had negotiations, and they still didn't want to go out and play. That was,
Yeah,
for
I
me,
mean,
that
I
was the
wasn't a
first
part
time
of
I've
Hold on,
that.
seen
Mama.
that
Let him
happen.
talk.
I wasn't a part of that, but I can understand it. That's the aspect of the game that, no one wants to really see or talk about. But the reality is, this is a dangerous game. And that really highlighted it for people. So, yeah, I mean, I've seen revolts for less things. Back in the two-a-days times, there have been multiple locker rooms across the league where the players basically said, enough is enough. Y'all are beating us to hell. This isn't helpful. And so we went out to practice one time. It was a full padded practice. Everybody left those pads inside. And since everybody was together, all the players thought that's what it was going to be. But less than 5 minutes later, everyone was back in that locker room putting those pads on.
Now, Eugene, this fan base is, I think, like 18 days or 19 days away from training camp getting started.
2 weeks.
And 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks.
They report.
And so from your experience as a player, when you're 2 weeks away from training camp, what are you doing? Like, what's happening right now?
I would be in peak physical condition, and as a lineman, I was almost always in better condition than any player, no matter the position, because I love fitness. So it was just a fun thing for me. But 2 weeks out, I'm training every day, but I'm spending. Sorry, what's going on my phone? Sorry, guys. Hold on.
No, you're good.
Training every day, but I'm spending most of my time with my family. It's usually a time when I take trips, just to get away for a little bit and just get some clarity before we start banging. Yeah.
Okay. And
how was the ownership of the Baltimore Ravens? Like the ownership, or did they seem to care about the players a lot, or? Because I know the NFL doesn't give a damn, but like there's certain owners in the NFL, like Jerry, you can tell there's a lot of players over the years. Jerry's been there for a lot of his players that have played for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I would say if you look at
on and off the field,
if you look at what's happened in Baltimore, who's been positioned there over the years, I would say that yes, the Baltimore's ownership at least understands, that you've got to be in tune with the players and at times do things that they're requesting beyond what you program. Every team's not like that, but there are some who are, and Baltimore is one of those. Well, I think that's why people like going there, right? If you're a free agent, you're not turning Baltimore down if the money's right, because it's a players organization. And in terms of Harbaugh, he demands everything, but he just lets men be men, right? So you can be your full self. You just better be ready to work. And there's some teams that aren't like that, like Jacksonville when I was there. They're worried about how long the quarterback's hair was. It's just stupid stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as I give Jerry hell for a lot of things, I can say he seems to care about a lot of his former players and a lot of the current ones. Like he does a lot of shit for him. I know he does. I live in Dallas. I hear about a lot of things.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how far that stretches beyond like the legends of the team, and then like the other guys who are every bit as important too, but don't have a name.
Now, Eugene, can you give these guys a draft day story, like what it was like to be drafted in the top 10 in the first round of the NFL draft? And who drafted you?
I remember almost breaking the table when I pounded on it. But draft day was interesting because Billy Devaney, who was the Rams GM, called my agent and told us that we were the second pick, that it was done, and for us to get ready to come to St. Louis at the time. But when that pick came around, if you can watch the draft, you'll notice like my family, my aunt at the second pick starts crying because they told us that it was done. I went and had the party of a lifetime the night before. But they picked Jason Smith, and so that for me, I was locked in. I wasn't worried about whether I would get drafted or not. I was seriously just excited for the opportunity. But that's probably something most people don't know, but it's visible. If you watch the footage of that day. Yeah. And my agent came across Billy Devaney some years later, and essentially they joked about the fact that he probably would have had his job still if they would have brought me in.
Did that
question real quick?
Did that make you want
according?
to go ahead?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know because I know certain ones have a team that they really wish that was chosen. Did it matter to you who chose you, or was there a particular team you really would have loved to have gone on?
It didn't matter one bit. I was truly just grateful to be in that position and have the opportunity. It really didn't matter.
Shout out to Sonny Shaw.
Did they give you extra motivation when
But
you
as
played
a young man
the
growing
Rams?
up, you did have a team that you liked,
I was a Packers fan growing up, but I can't say that I necessarily wanted to move to Green Bay. But I when I first started watching football, in fact, the very first game I ever watched in its entirety, the Packers had won the Super Bowl. So I was a Brett Favre fan and was rocking with the Packers for a long time. But if once you play for the Ravens, it's kind of hard to appreciate anybody else.
What was it like to take the field for the first time? The energy, your mood.
Are you kidding me? My first game, I had to play against Dwight Freeney, and I thought I was about to step on the field, and here I am starting my Hall of Fame run. And man, I don't think I touched him that whole day.
Oh man, 6'5", 300 pounds, right?
And he's a Hall of Fame.
But were you stoked or what, or just kind of like, am I here or what? Like, was it like sort of like surreal or what for you or what?
I really don't move through life with those feelings. It was like I knew the gravity of what I did to get there and what it would take to sustain it. But again, like I was very mission based, man. Like I gotta block this dude no matter what. So
you're focused more. You're more focused on your job. I do that. I just thought it'd be kind of cool, be like, man, out of here, dude. It's like a dream come true. That's the way I see it.
And you're right. It was a dream come true, but Leo can probably speak to this too, because I'm the same way. Even with the stuff we got going on now, like we're in it, man. I'm in it, so I'm not really, looking back and finding enjoyment. Like I'm trying to find a way to win. I'm trying to move the ball down the field, and then later we can look at how cool it was.
What kind of advice would you give?
But you on that last Super Bowl?
I just wanted to ask, what kind of advice, like with us, with Tyler Booker, what kind of advice would you give him to get prepared for his first game?
It's gone.
I'm excited because I'm going to call him and give him that advice. I've known him for a little while, so that'll be an interesting call. I'll let y'all know how that goes.
Yeah, because he said he was Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
So should we be excited about him being on our team?
I think so.
I think so.
Okay, I like hearing that.
Yeah. All right, Eugene. Here's a good one for you. Are the Ravens taking care of you in retirement?
What do you mean taking care of me?
You want to move to the next question?
Are they giving you the money?
We can move to the next question.
That is not something that goes down. No, not at all. Leo's taking care of me.
Now you said the Rams told you they were going to draft you, and they didn't.
Absolutely.
Did they give you extra motivation when you played the Rams, or was it like this is just another team?
Nah, you know what? It didn't matter, and it didn't give me extra motivation. The motivation I had when I played St. Louis was that my old teammate Chris Long, was on their team, so I get to have fun and play against my brother, which was a good experience for sure.
That's right. Yeah, because you both went to UVA at the same time. One of the things that I'll give this, Jarrett. The first time I met Jarrett Green, Darryl Green's son, we're shooting pool, we're talking, and Eugene just casually walks in and was like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't know Jarrett," and I was like, "No, what?" And he was like, "Yeah, tell him the other team you played for." He was like, "Oh yeah, I played for the Cowboys." I was like, "Oh." And then another friend of ours, or business partner too, is Xavier Rose, and he got to play for you guys too, his last year in the league, right?
Yeah, with the Colts. The Colts too. Xavier.
Yeah, he played on the Colts.
Yep.
Drafted to Minnesota.
Yep.
Well, Eugene, let me ask you this, because I always say that at being an NFL player, that from time in you being a top 10 draft pick, by the time you were in the NFL, basically you got a target in your back that everybody wants a piece of you. And you hear stories about 70% of players within 3 or 4 years are broke. Can you speak to how it is being an NFL player and how it is when your family treats you and all that? Because I know everybody's kind of got their hands out and things.
That's a very dynamic issue, and it depends on who your family is, right?
Well, not just family, but women will look at you and say, "You're an NFL player. I'm going to try and get me some of that."
Man, I had real stalkers while I was playing. Man, there were women that would just somehow they knew every hotel we would be in. They just found a way to get around. There is that ugly side of it. But family can be a drain, especially while you're trying to prepare for games and you have to deal with that drama. But I have balance, and within my family there are some who have my back for sure, and Leo knows those folk. Yep. And really they really help sustain me. Really don't know how I would have made it through that time without them. But there's some who, again, like they don't care about you. They just care about what you could possibly do for them. And it's sad. It's sad to see people who you love operate that way.
Sad to see blood do that to one another.
Yeah. Well, as someone on the outside looking in, I can attest that his immediate family and support system, I've claimed them as family now. Like great people, the funniest of peoples, and we've all had our shared experiences and stuff like that. And it's just really good to see, to see people love unto someone in the purest of forms without a handout or anything like that. His folks are good people, y'all. And, shout out to Raven Monroe too, because she's the bomb.com. She's been a good counselor for me too.
You need some counseling, bro. Okay.
I got one for you. Were there any prank worse in the locker room or any funny rookie?
Wait a minute. Eugene Lashana asked, did you go to church? Did you do the part? Was you in the parking lot today?
No, I wasn't on lot duty today.
No, she didn't. He didn't. Bye. She said, "Hey."
Okay, was you on that last Baltimore Super Bowl team that won the Super Bowl? I think it was back in 2012.
No, I was in Jacksonville. We beat them on Monday night that year, but no, I was a Jaguar at the time.
Oh, okay. I was Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for you, Eugene. Prior to the draft, were you invited to the combine?
Yeah. Yeah, I was the #1 player on the big board on ESPN. Yeah, I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so going into that, how did you feel as a player? And how did you feel about the testing and the questioning that the teams gave you?
I'll tell you like this. For me at that time, it was nothing more than a formality. Like just one of those things you just go through and do.
It's the process.
Al Groh was a NFL coach before coming to the UBA, and he also had the experience of having DeBrickashaw Ferguson go early, and then Chris Long go early. So, I knew the process. And again, like I knew I was going to kill the testing, and ultimately, what matters is your film, which I knew spoke for itself. So whether or not I went to the combine, I don't believe my positioning in the draft would have changed. But I went there to remove all doubt.
Right. Hey, Eugene, I'm the person who believes that the combine is a glorified track meet. And I believe
it. I experienced it.
Yes, and I believe that, and you experienced that, and that's why I'm saying now, players like yourself who go there, they know the process they got to go through. But me as a fan looking, and I see how they treating the players with these tests, I have a problem with that as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yes.
What? Like one thing they do, they put you on video, like 360 video, and they have you like in your draws, basically like putting your arms up, spinning around, and like they're just assessing and taking notes on your body in a very weird way. Like there's some stuff that, that whole process has been equated to like a slave auction, for example.
Exactly. That's my whole point. Because why is the point you being on the stool and you doing a 360 turn, say, hey, lift your arm here, lift your leg here, move your head there. That's
well, Charles described it as being like cattle herded in.
You got a super chat, Mark, with a question.
Okay. Eugene, does he own goats, chickens? I recognize some fence work.
It's dogs.
It's dogs. And Rhonda is our leader right now. Help me, Rhonda. You go, girl.
Yeah, I just want to say that because I've been adamant about this combine, which I think they should ban it personally.
I agree.
And a lot of players feel the same way. Ain't just
I agree.
me. Oh, y'all hear that?
I know, and it's gonna be December 23rd.
Hey, we still gonna be hearing it.
Yeah, you hear what you agree with me.
I just heard whispering. I didn't really hear anything. I just heard a whisper.
Eugene, he's gonna wear that out.
Mama gonna tell his grandkids, "Hey, you remember I was on," and he agreed with me.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, if you're analyzing talent and you don't see it on film, like you're a shitty analyst. Like you shouldn't need a guy to wear underwear and run up and down the field to know whether or not he can play ball.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Leo.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you told Eugene about somebody that likes the moon over here? If you know what I'm talking about.
Now you know what? No, I
wake up.
This was such a snap decision.
Okay.
I did not have an opportunity to prep Eugene on some of the characters we have on here. So this is like he's experiencing all of us in our in our glory for the first time.
I'm going to say having Eugene on here is a great thing because, first of all, he's very, very interesting, very knowledgeable and all that. But more than anything else, he keeps you quiet, Leo.
Well, I want you guys to now you understand what I mean when I say sometimes when I listen to him talk and I listen to you guys as both former players, at whatever level, there are times when you guys say things that I never thought about it that way because it's a different perspective.
And
I'm glad you brought him on. It's glad to hear his perspective.
Hey, listen, look, guys. Eugene and I had
great,
a podcast called the Smoking Heroes Podcast, right? And one of the things that I loved about doing it with him was that Eugene was the very first NFL player that I ever met who let me ask all my questions as a veteran. Because I used to ask him like, "Yo, are y'all going through it?" I mean, that CTE and PTSD was looking alike to me, and Eugene, like he answered it. He would answer all my questions, and then come to find out, as a veteran, he had questions. I mean, Eugene has pulled things out of me in terms of my military career that I hadn't thought about in years, experiences that I hadn't felt, and in some of our conversations, understanding and learning what some of my trigger points was in terms of when it comes to PTSD, because through our conversations, you relive a lot of these instances,
Exactly.
and it's like, damn,
Leo.
like, yes.
What's
I
the
have a
name of that?
question for you, Leo, because this is very important to me as a veteran of the military. Is the 4th of July a day that you can listen to fireworks? Because some of my
No, I
military
don't
friends
do the fireworks. I did it. I mean,
because the flashbacks.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, because
I know. I'm just telling you, my friends can't do it.
I've had my experiences. This year I didn't do it this year, but I've done it in years past. As a matter of fact, the last big fireworks I think I did, I was with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I'm just
and I'll tell you this, like this was a big thing for me, because as a kid, I remember going like to visit relatives in the South.
Right.
And every time we would take that long drive, we would stop at south of the border.
Right.
And
Yeah. Get the
I could go through there.
fireworks there.
Yeah, and you just see all the fireworks.
South Carolina.
Yeah, and you're like, wow, I really wish I could get
That's
that.
what we did this year too.
That. Yeah,
just south of the border too.
So one year, we've had a couple of 4th of Julys at Eugene's place. And one year, Eugene's like, come on, let's go. We hop in the truck. He's got one of those big monster trucks. And we go to the fireworks store. And I got to live out a boyhood fantasy of being able to just buy all the big fireworks. And I mean, when I say we went off, it was like, like we had to, bro. One of our Roman friends, candles. One of our friends had to go up to the people and say, "Hey, look, I need a couple of people with us right now because we got shopping carts." And Eugene's like, "Man, fill these damn things up." I mean, it was the fun of that. So I was able to handle that. That was fine. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But the reason I asked you that because we just did a whole big thing because I went to south of the border about 3 weeks for folks. It was crowded in there, and I bought all these fireworks. And I had to be leery of some of my people who I know who was ex-military and they suffer from PTSD because they hear it, they get flashbacks. And so I had them go in the kitchen with my go in the house. You ain't got to watch the fireworks because I understand what you're going to experience out here. You're going to think you back in Iraq. Yeah, and got one person from Vietnam, especially the person from Vietnam. I could not allow him to do that.
I stayed home. This year I stayed home and I screwed in my green light so that to let folks know that this was a safe space and you can go home. And for all you guys who don't know what that means, if you're actually going down the street and you see a green light bulb like in a house at a house or whatever, that's the signal to let a veteran know that that's a place that they can knock on the door and
exactly.
Get help. It's a safe space for them. So I did that this year.
Yeah.
Leo, what was the name of that podcast y'all do? The Smoking what?
The Smoke and Heroes podcast.
Okay. You put the link in the chat.
Yeah. I got you.
Okay.
Is it still up, Eugene?
It may be.
Let me. If you put it again, I'll pin it.
We need to convene on that soon, Leo, and then we got bird section that we need to get you rocking.
I've actually talked to these guys about coming on to the bird section. Mark's going to come on. I'm gonna have Momo at some point or another. And Dunn reached out to me a couple of days ago, so I'm getting the lineup set up.
You can have me up there. We could talk Eagles.
There's another guy that these guys can't stand. His name is Eagles Drew. And I got
me Drew talk. I like Drew.
Yeah. And
Drew is not as bad as people think he is.
No.
Moving right along here.
Hey, Leo, I just subscribed to y'all's channel. I just subscribed to that.
Wonderful. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
No problem.
But yeah, that's us. And again, like if it weren't for him on a lot of these issues, and truth be told, I think it was his wife who suggested it, only because because of the conversations, the level of the conversations we were having, and it was like, yo, we need to do a podcast. So that's actually how it all really got going and diving into these things. So I learned a lot, so I owe him, so much more beyond just friendship and business, again, you go from suffering from PTSD to actually living with it. And so that's where, that's the big thing. Eugene, do me a favor, tell these guys how you discovered cannabis.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So when you say discover, like what aspect are we coming from? You mean like my first experience?
Yeah.
You mean my bachelor party experience?
Yeah.
So like I grew up in a place where there's weed and all other drugs being transacted in my household on the regular, so it wasn't foreign to me. But I was the kid in the hood who was I was rocking with the DARE program, and I was seeing everybody get arrested and lives be ruined by being associated with cannabis. So, I just chalked it up as, everyone who's doing this is stupid. My teammates laugh about it now because, I know infinitely more about cannabis than they ever will at this point. But I was the guy calling them stupid for consuming it at the time. But yeah, I was at my bachelor party. We were in Vegas at the MGM. Just like having a time, like, 3 straight days, all nighters, no sleep, we're partying. And then, my brother and a couple of my friends bought some weed, and when we get back to our spot, they're rolling it up. And I mean, I don't know what I had just finished drinking at the time, and I don't drink anymore, but, I was drinking a lot. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm drunk. I'm here. Like, I might as well hit it once now. And so I did it. And I took that hit, and then my back didn't hurt anymore. My back was hurting from, just running hard in Vegas, and I was a big dude. When you're 330 pounds, that low back gets tight. Right. And so, I had that first hit, and it completely changed my outlook on what I was dealing with. And I didn't continue consuming. This was, I believe, February, and I knew testing was coming up. So I didn't continue consuming, but what I did do is started researching. That's how I learned so much about it and got involved with the business and medical aspect of it. Because that experience, getting that relief in my back, totally changed how I viewed cannabis and opened me up to like the ability for it to replace those opioids that I was getting prescribed every day and the Celebrex and Indocin that I was getting prescribed every day. And that just, it sparked, this track I'm on now with Leo, seeing it from that perspective, and then understanding that the propaganda and lies that people perpetuate about cannabis were just untrue. I will say, there is an aspect of it, but like anything, where it's a substance that can be abused. But, people don't talk about the abuse of other things. Like, no one's going to, say that sugar's bad, but, our country's dying because people are dumping sugar into their Starbucks coffee. So, I just, it leveled, what I was dealing with, and caused me to research it and understand it, on this track that I'm on now. And it became less of a scary taboo drug to this beautiful plant, which is teaching me so much about agriculture and business and health and everything else. It's just been a crazy experience. But yeah, I used to be the guy calling people stupid for smoking weed.
Now, I can't let you go without bigging you up one more time in a different way. I want everybody to, if you don't know who this man is, you need to do a Google search on this guy and realize this man is co-founder of one of the first publicly traded cannabis companies on the Canadian Stock Exchange. This man co-founded that company, built it.
Shout out to you on that.
Yeah, so understand, like, when this man is telling you this stuff, like, this ain't some like he wasn't running no hole in the wall type of company or whatever. The Green Thumb Industries, look it up. And now we have Collective 60, our company.
So it looks like you got a lot of good people. Jim McMahon, Jake Plummer. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about the NFL Toradol, I think it's Toradol that they prescribe a lot.
Yeah.
Where they kind of came out and said, don't use it, a couple days before games because it causes problems with blood
a couple
clotting.
days before games. We talking, man. I did a piece on Toradol. I did a piece on it, man. And so you're right. Like it onsets brain bleeding and stuff like that. But man, we used to line up for the T train on game day. And there's a line of players like right after warm-ups that go back to the doc's office one by one, getting jabbed in the butt with this Toradol that they give you a high dose of. And it's a great, anti-inflammatory, but it also reduces and masks pain. And you can have a guy with a ruptured whatever, and you get that Toradol shot and feel like you can run through a brick wall for the next 2 days.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's not good on your bones either.
Well, shot, and they come out like, like just excited, screaming about because you've been hurt all week. It's game day now. You get the shot. Now you're ready to go, not fully understanding, the downsides of what you just did.
And it's psychological effects, addiction to it. I mean, so when you hear about these kind of drugs and things like that versus smoking weed, if you're telling me that you're getting the effect of you no longer having back pain from just smoking a little bit of weed, it definitely is something that needs to go forward. I want to ask you something, and if it's too personal, do not,
go ahead.
But how prepared were you? Because it seems like to me, I always say that you're always one play away from being retired.
Ooh.
How were you when you ended football? How prepared were you for after football?
So I'll say this. Leo just mentioned the fact that I co-founded, which is now the strongest balance sheet cannabis company in the world. Mm-hmm. I was already doing that while I was a player. So that my last year playing for Baltimore was the same year that the state of Maryland for the second time pushed to legalize medical cannabis. I had already, it was like perfect. I've been studying this, and now you're telling me there's an opportunity to get involved right here. So that's exactly what I did. I was doing real estate in the city. I was, becoming politically connected and in the business community in Maryland and Baltimore specifically. So, I decided to get involved while I was still playing. In fact, I invited my teammates. I even invited coaches. There were coaches who were interested in getting involved. But at the time, it was fresh. The climate for investing in cannabis and other things was different at the time. So, I took a risk and jumped in. So in terms of being ready, whether it was cannabis or a continued effort in real estate, I was positioning myself during my career, knowing that football doesn't last forever, and it's going to probably be ending quicker now, especially when I was towards that back end of my career. And so, I always advise players to ensure that they don't put themselves in a box. You're more than an athlete. That's just what you do. It's not who you are. And to always be exploring your interest in gaining understanding, learning as much as you possibly can, and then also putting your foot out and taking risk in these things. So, I didn't really have transition period. I was already doing what the next thing was.
That's great to hear, because it seems like most people, they look at it and say, I'm an NFL player, and that's it. So you used it more of as a launching point for the next step, the visibility, the opportunities, the doors being open. That's incredible. Definitely want to talk to you about real estate, because I know Baltimore is a great spot to be investing and buying up a whole neighborhood to renovate.
Yeah, there's some interesting opportunities in this area, this DMV area in general. So, yep, you're right.
Yeah, well, we're not too far away, because literally I'm about 20 miles from Charlottesville.
Oh,
your old
stomping ground.
Yeah, your old stomping ground. I'm out in the suburbs now, out in Waynesboro. I can't thank you enough for being here and spending time with us, and definitely hope that we can do some more stuff with you. And I know the fans are.
I'll be on.
I know the fans are excited to be able to talk to an NFL player and pick his brain, because that's not something that you get every day.
Yeah, bro, I appreciate you coming on, man. For real.
No, I enjoy it. Again, like Leo lets me know when you guys are jumping on whenever he's with you, Mark. So I've definitely tuned in and sent a couple of super chats talking crap. But we'll stay in touch. I'll jump on for sure.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Right. Later, big dog.
Take care, y'all.
Take it easy. It's a pleasure meeting you.
I'll hit you back later.
Later.
Brother.
And shout out to us, because this was the spirit of the moment, but our questions was on point.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Like,
damn you, Leo.
Even Momo had a couple good ones. It was crazy.
Damn, Leo.
Hey, man, listen, man.
That was awesome,
I
man.
hate. I tell him all the time, especially like before we started the podcast and everything like that. I used to tell him, like, damn, I hate that I'm the only one hearing this shit. The things that he would tell me and everything. And that's why, again, that's the biggest reason why I was quiet, because finally y'all get to hear and experience what I hear all the time, and then on top of that, the some of the best stories are the ones that he doesn't tell. It'd be from like his family members' perspectives, and so you're just like, what, like his little brothers and them could tell you like what it was like having the camera crew around, and they tell it, they tell, I remember them telling me that, you got to understand they were little kids when he got drafted, so they didn't get to go to the party and all that stuff, so they missed all of that.
But Leo, I would say I appreciate that, because I can ask very good questions. I choose not to, but I'm gonna tell you this one thing: I'm going to eat this up. What he said about the combine, I'm going to eat this up.
Jerry,
Lord.
we're never going to hear the end of it, right?
Next
Hallie, you hear this, right?
Yes.
Look how
Eugene made everybody feel like a star up in here now. Okay.
Well, you saw
Yeah,
that?
I think we lost. I think I lost that debate last Wednesday.
No, let me say, Leo, thanks for bringing Eugene on here, man. That was great.
nah, bro. Like I said, man, I'm glad y'all got to experience them like I do, man. That's what I wanted.
Well, see, the thing is we watch football on Sundays,
right?
And if you've never played football, you can't equate what they do. I mean, we talk about the Tanadol, which is basically, like you said, it's like candy, and that lets you literally run through walls. But when you start hearing about players that have gone through and they're completely bankrupt or their bodies are just screwed up, we don't put a human being behind that helmet.
Nope.
We don't.
We just think they're machines. They could go out there and just play.
Right? You go out there. Oh man, he's a pussy, man. He's not playing. It's like, dude, you would be screaming if you had a hangnail.
Bro, Eugene Monroe is the sole reason why I am sensitive when it comes to players from any team, including the Cowboys. I'm a little more sensitive about the injury stuff or what have you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As someone that's in his inner circle and his life and everything like that, I too have to take on the things that happen, like the after effects. So I see it. I also see what a lot of his friends are dealing with in terms of from other family members or themselves, the after effects. Yeah. So it hits a little bit different. Now, that being said, he and I, we go back and forth. Like, we went to the Baltimore game, it was one of the few times, that I was able to talk my shit and he couldn't say anything, not much, because it's hard to argue with first of all, it's hard to argue with a former NFL player altogether. But when he gives, when he's talking his shit and I'm talking my shit, that's all I can do, and hopefully we'll win. That's the best I can do, but I cannot intellectually outsmart this guy. And so but we do have the best of conversations about football, and a lot of times when I'm on here and I'm talking to you guys, I'm not trolling. Sometimes I'm talking to you the same way I talk to him.
You're one of the few good Eagle fans. You're one of the few.
I really appreciate you.
If you're going to argue with an NFL player, you got to have your shit together. You got to at least have your facts.
Yeah,
and all that
been
stuff
there.
Together.
I mean, there's some annoying Cowboys trolls too. I mean, it's just people that really don't know football.
Yeah, Mark, for real. But if I'm going to argue with them, I gotta have my talking points.
And Leo, I'm very humble. I'm very humble when I talk to anybody of that magnitude who knows something like that. So I'm not going to sit here and, like you said, and argue him. I want him to know about certain things. He said it's a process when you go through doing certain things in the NFL, and you have to go through. It's a process, just like those bags of pills that they inject these players with. Let's stand in line. You got to take these pills for the game. I know your shoulder's hurting.
Let me say this, Momo and Mark. Let me tell you guys, right? Check this out. There are one of the benefits of having a friend like him and being around him is that when you have certain things come around, like the combine, the draft, and all this other stuff, Eugene will throw out a little story that, from a fan perspective, you're like, what? Again, like we happened to be in New York City. And we went to a dinner. We went to a business dinner, and then we had to go somewhere else. But we walked past Broadway. We walked down that street, and he was telling me, and it was during the draft. It was the draft time. This is April, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I remember when we had to walk right up this way, and they had the step and repeat, and I had to stand there and take the pictures and stuff like that." I was like, "What?" Like he'll tell you these little things, like these behind the scene things that you never seen or heard of, and he just says it like it's
that was back in the day when it was at Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah, Radio City Music Hall. Yeah, and he was like, he'll just tell you a quick story, and you'll just be like,
"What?
What?" You know what I'm saying?
Like, Leo, he's the first player I've ever heard in an open forum that ever said the word. It treat us like we in slavery, like the pointing the thing. Yeah. He's the first player I ever heard say that. Yeah. I heard other people say it, but he's the first player ever said that.
Yeah. And again, little stories like that, when they come out, and again, you guys heard it for yourself. There are times you can hear the similarities in terms of the way he talks about the game as a player. And sometimes Mark can hit on those things because they both played on the O-line. So there are times where I'm just listening to Mark and I'm just like, God damn, this is like talking to Eugene. Shit. Like it's the same thing. Because these guys don't see a game. They watching film. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what
or they've lived it.
What's the matter, Derek?
Yes.
No, and it's good to hear a perspective from an offensive lineman who played the game, because we can all sit here and assume, oh, well, this guy sucks. This guy's this and that. But from the playing it, and just talking about it is two different things.
Oh, listen, I've been in the room with Eugene, with Xavier, during a football game, when a football game is on. And listening, sometimes they'll say, oh, he missed that block. He missed that. He sat on him too long. He was playing too soft. And you're just looking like, how do you? Oh, yeah, that's right. Y'all watching film.
We're only seeing it from like we're not seeing it in real time.
They both have taught me how to really look at the game, and especially listening to him to talk about how hard it is to play on the offensive line. He told me, he said, bro, it's not that you got to know what you're doing, but you got to know what everybody is doing. He said it's like a choreographed dance. Everybody's got to know what kind of steps you're going to take, all that shit. And I'm sitting there like, what? I thought it was just a bunch of guys just pushing back on people. He's like, hell no.
And his perspective on change to one from right to left offensive line is very telling for everybody to realize that every position, if you play a position for all your life, you just can't jump into one position and then think you're going to play that well. Some people can, but some people is not going to want to go through that transition to that other. You know what I mean, Leo?
Mike McCarthy put it perfectly. He's like, okay, you wipe your ass with your right hand? Now try and wipe it with your left hand.
Nope.
Now try and wipe it with your left hand.
Backwards and different. Then you're trained to do one thing one way for so long, and then
but everything is opposite because your first step. If you're on the left side, your first step is with your left foot. Your eyes are used to being trained on that side. Your arm strength is there. Now you're reversing it, and now everything is backwards. You are literally starting all over. It's not like we go left to right. No, it's a major transition.
One of the most telling things that he said, and it was the first time I ever heard him say this, was he said, if you're a doctor and you know what you're doing, you could tell where I was on the field based off of the injuries that I had.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh damn, you know what I'm saying? Even like, and I'd never heard that before. I never heard him say that before. And so, again, that was like one of those real-time moments where I learned something new again. I mean, with this dude, it always happens. I'm always learning something new. Like, what? You know, and understanding that, you know, he played it at a high level, too. Right. You know, so...
And the good thing for me and for everybody in the chat and everybody here, that he was willing to come on and share his experience. Yeah. And I appreciate that much.
Yeah, yeah. I'll make sure I
come on more. Tell him to come on more. I'd like to hear more, man.
Does our division play? Does our division play Baltimore? I can't remember.
No,
do we
play?
Them?
We played.
No, we got the AFC West.
Yeah, we played.
Okay, because I was going to say it'd be awesome if we could do something.
We had them last year
when we played.
Oh, listen,
I guess we'll have to wait another day.
We went to he and I went to that game when the Eagles played Baltimore in Baltimore, and he and I went to that game.
I'm talking about the Dallas game. You were referring to the Dallas game?
No. When Philadelphia played in Baltimore
I got you.
Year, he and I went to that game together, and I talked shit the whole way there. You know, he talked shit the whole way there, and then I talked shit all the way back home.
Okay,
and it was quiet. That was one of those. Yes,
wasn't. I would love to have been in the room when the Dallas Cowboys played Baltimore that game, see his perspective on certain plays on the offensive line on both sides of the ball. The Dallas offense line versus the Baltimore Ravens offensive line, because he could get a different perspective where someone's not doing, when they not shedding off that block. You let him take that first step or that inside step quicker. He switched positions. He should just little things offensive linemen do, as Mark knows what you can do, technique wise.
Yeah. I mean, it's great listening to his perspective on the way players are playing currently, especially in real time as the games are going on, Mark. Because he'll yell and scream about what a block someone missed or a pull that someone should have done. But he knows those things, you know.
Before I go,
like, wow.
The most telling thing about his conversation, forget the combine, we all know that, but the most telling thing for me is the doctors. How they push this Viking, now all these drugs on these players, and they get hooked, and they just say, "Oh, it wasn't our fault that you got hooked on these drugs."
Well, and in the same breath, when you hear what the team, physicians and the teams do, and they're ready to cut you when they can find somebody else, don't be mad at the players for trying to get paid and get everything that they can, because a lot of these players now, Eugene he had an exit strategy. But if you look at somebody like Tyreek Hill, who's out here with 5 baby mamas and now his wife is divorcing him, you know that he's got no future after football, and he's going to be broke. He's going to be.
He can do a podcast, Mike. Mark.
Yeah, well, Mark, I don't know him. I did not meet him when he was in the league, like as an active player. I mean, we met at the end of his last year. You see what I'm saying? Right. And so for me, I only know him as Eugene from GTI, and I was Leo from MPX. We were two different companies. We knew each other from business. You see what I'm saying? And then there are times where our advocacy would cross paths, but that's how we actually met each other. You know what I'm saying? That's how and so for me, I had everyone that he's ever introduced me to, it's like I had to reverse engineer that friendship, because they all know him as the player, like when he was a player and beyond and before that. So it's those perspectives and everything like that. You know, these are a lot of them are old. You know what I'm saying? Because he got drafted in 2009.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So these perspectives and everything like that are like over 10 years old. And so it's interesting, because every time I turn around, I'm finding out that he knows somebody, and I'm like, of course you do. Yeah, shit, why not? Yeah.
But
And
his
then,
Hey,
perspective
Leo.
about the
yeah.
I was going to ask you. I'm sorry, you interrupted, Momo.
No.
Uh, have y'all ever had a conversation? Because I meant to ask him, and I didn't think of it till now about Tua with all the concussions he's been
yes.
having.
Not in a podcast form or anything like that, but just in talking, yeah, he don't like it either. We both are like we're the same kind of concern. Like I hate having to hold my I don't like watching Tua play. As good as he is and everything like that, I hate watching him play because you hold your breath, you literally hold your breath every time that ball is hiked. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And what messed me up was seeing him on the ground and his fingers doing that, and I was like, oh hell no. Like that like and so now
that should have yanked him out the game. He should never play another down after that play.
I mean, like of course, Eugene sees it too, and and listen, those challenges come up every now and again, so he knows the path that Tua is headed down, just like a lot of those other guys.
I mean, here's a question, Leo, because you watched it and we all seen the Tua thing and the concussion. Yeah. Do you think that the people convinced him to play?
I think that contract did.
Hello.
And then he hops on the phone.
All right, I'll talk to y'all guys later.
All right, later, big dog.
We've gone a little overtime here, but
but Leo, I think like the average NFL fan, or they'll see like, oh, this guy's getting paid millions of dollars. They know what they're signing up for. They're playing in the NFL. They're playing football, so injuries and concussions are just going to happen.
Yeah, but
unavoidable.
Yeah, but you still have to.
I know they're trying to prevent it from happening, but it just still keeps happening.
Yeah, you still got to speak to it, and thank God. Listen, guys, he's still doing that shit. He's still, advocating on behalf of, former players, and is always willing to help and lend his expertise. He gets, we both get invited to speak on a number of different panels and stuff like that. Him for being a professional football player, and me being a veteran. And
I mean, but Leo, these current NFL players in the last 10, 15 years had it a lot better than those players back in the 90s and the 80s and 70s. Those guys were doing full blown 2-a-days, fully padded practices, even during the season, and full blown hitting each other.
Yep. Jimmy Johnson had him hitting the Super Bowl
and what's kind of interesting is a lot of those guys were actually making it through the entire year. And it kind of seems, I feel like a lot of the NFL players now, they're getting hurt, a lot of ACLs. And I don't know, it didn't seem to happen. I'm not saying it didn't happen back then, but I don't know. I don't think it happened as much.
Well, no, I mean, if you look at it from a systemic perspective, you can go back and figure out what were the things.
Like Mark says, what I was going to say real quick, like Mark says, Leo, they're not practicing, they're not hitting. So when they get in the games in the regular season, their bodies aren't used to being hit.
Yep. You're going from 60 to 120.
Mm-hmm. I think the scariest thing I remember, poor Troy Aikman, after he got knocked out that game, and they asked him where he was, and he thought he was in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oh, that should have been.
Yeah. You got to hear.
Shouldn't have played for several weeks after that.
You got to hear King Dunlap talk about his experience, because he took a hit, and he didn't wake up until he didn't blink back in until he was on the plane headed back home.
Yeah, my high school gym teacher played quarterback, and he said he got hit one time in the first quarter, and when he came to, it was the third quarter, and he was behind the center. About to call the play.
Yep, he said, and King said that the people told him he had full blown conversations, was doing everything like he was like, what? You know what I'm saying? Because he said he had to turn and ask somebody, did we win? And it was like, oh, you blinked in, you back. He was like, yeah. But he said that they told him he had full blown conversations, was playing, he did good, he did all right, like everything, but he didn't come, and that happened like somewhere like the third quarter, and then he said he didn't come back again until they were on the plane. So when you have that massive amount of time lost like that, you know what I'm saying? That's the begin. Like that's a sign that things are, you're on that path. And when we've had our conversations about Tua, and Eugene knows how I feel about it, and he's of like mind, like, hey, like that ain't good this early, because you're not counting the ones that he got when he was in college or in high school.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. People think your injuries began when you got in the league. Hell no.
Shit.
Hell no. Look at us. T.R. Campbell can't even touch the field like that until August.
I mean, you look at Troy Aikman and Steve Young, the concussions they took, the hits they took to get those concussions.
Yeah.
They knew when to get out.
Yeah. I remember seeing an interview, and James Harrison said that he got with Troy Aikman and used the same program that paid into it, so that when he loses his faculties like that, he'll always be taken care of. They plan for that. You know what I'm saying? So that like that's crazy, but but I think, shout out to you guys. You guys asked awesome questions. You know what I'm saying? I think you guys were like Derek J said, it was not planned, but goddamn it, y'all got him off. And that was how all you guys' kinds of questions was the way me and him talk. And I loved it.
We can act right when it's time.
Even Momo did.
We got proof.
You
say we can't act right. We just play him this tape. We did it.
Yeah. And and Momo wasn't that bad.
Well,
Tommy.
I'm not available.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he said because one of the videos I did, the girl was being arrested, and they said, "You're under arrest." She said, "I'm not available for that."
Okay. All right.
I gotta use that is genius.
I'm gonna start telling.
I know we've had an incredible time, but I got to get out of here, man. Okay. Let me say shout out to Leo, which is something I thought I would never say. Shout out to Leo for bringing Eugene on. Make sure you let him know how appreciative we are to have him on here, and how happy he made Cowboys Nation. We got to the point where we didn't even talk about Turpin. I mean,
I know you got about to tell you probably had to change the title on this.
But between me and exercising or Momo telling me that I need to stop and all that,
I hope you know what, Mark. I hope everybody who sees this and who watches this podcast with him might want to rethink the way they look at cannabis if you still are opposed to it or whatnot. Because to be quite honest with you, I don't find it a bad thing when I find out of NFL players smoking cannabis. Like, well, I'm like,
what I hope people get is they understand that these are guys that are doing everything possible for our entertainment.
They're just as human as we are, too.
Right, and the things that they're doing are inhuman.
Yep.
And that is affecting the quality of their lives. Most people don't think about that when they watch a football game.
Well, what did he say about every time the ball is snapped? That's like what? A car wreck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And your brain is going to shift. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what position.
Right.
You're running at full speed and you come to an immediate stop. Your brain shifts. And as you get older, especially, Mark, when we're dealing with people who are in advanced age, you know what I'm saying?
Things don't talk about me like that.
And these guys,
Don't talk about me like that.
No, but I'm saying like these we're talking guys who are in their 30s and early 40s who are showing advanced stages of, like the CTE stuff with, loss
and
of
Alzheimer's too, man.
Yeah, we got a guy was Mark Braun or something like that, a former linebacker for the Eagles who was on the first team that won the Super Bowl. He's in stage 4 cancer and is about is in bad shape, homeless, the whole 9 yards. So now that
I read that article. I read that article the other night on Google News.
Yeah,
I read
Emmanuel Acho and then was like, "Yo, I'm so bad. I feel so bad that I had to find out through the news." But he's like stepped in and tried to help him and everything like that. He's in a bad way. That's what like I've been on the phone with Eugene after talking to a former player who was in a bad way. You know what I'm saying? And
so they're not few and far between. There's a lot of them.
Mark, like the things that these guys are having to contend with once they come off the field. Like these injuries and these things, that torn labrum and everything like that. Every time I turn around, Eugene's telling me about an old injury that's coming back to mess with him. And to see how he used cannabis to help heal himself, and continues to use it in different forms and everything like that. He's like this man lives that stuff, and that's why I appreciate. So his perspective, there's a reason why he's the CEO of the company. You know what I'm saying? So, and the man knows what he's talking about.
Yep. I mean, Willie Nelson, he's about what 90. Willie Nelson's up there. He's still going strong.
Yeah, 92.
Yeah.
Oh, and he had to change his form of marijuana use.
Yeah, and he smoked out Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying? Snoop Dogg took an L with Willie Nelson.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So some people just don't want, Eugene's one of them kind of people for me. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got to get out of here.